Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Within the Cauldron. Tonight, I'm co-hosting with my spirit sister across the pond in the UK, Sherry.
Hi,
That's my
hi.
pillow.
Marry
And
me.
tonight, we're going to talk about all things cemeteries. So, yes, I don't kind of like different, but if you guys know me, I like to go out of the box. So,
Well, I'm not being funny, but most of our guys like things that are wacky and out there, so I
yeah,
think they're going to love tonight.
I think that's why we get along so well. We out of
Oh,
the
yeah. A
box.
bit crazy there, crazy, crazy.
Yes. But here's our guest star, my friend James. Hi, James.
Hello, greetings.
And thank you for joining us tonight. And actually, everybody, James kind of came up with this podcast of all things cemetery. And I thought, ooh, yeah, that's awesome. So we're going to get started. And I am going to have James start us out. Um, so, James, what do you want to talk about first with cemeteries?
Oh, well, it's, of course, to begin with, my favorite place to go to escape the living, as they say in like one of those cheesy throwaway lines in like, I think Beetlejuice or something like that. I don't know. But
Yeah.
it's a really relaxing and quiet place, and it's absolutely beautiful. And, people don't usually bother you there. And you're just surrounded by, all this history, and you're looking around at all these graves and the dates on them, and you're like, wow, this person existed before the Civil War or something like that, and they're right
Mhm.
6 feet below my feet.
Yeah. I feel the same too. Cemetery is, I know some will say, "Oh my God, it's a cemetery," but you know, I'm like you. It's peaceful. It's quiet and tranquility. Anything you want to say along with the lines of peace, being with peace, and it's exciting to see some of the tombstones and the symbols, the year that somebody was born and died. And, with respect, I have taught my children, which my children has taught their kids, to take a little broom and some, water and a cloth because we can wash off the tombstones.
Nice.
Oh,
How
yeah.
about you, Sherry?
I absolutely love cemeteries, graveyards, anything like that. It's something that I do a lot because obviously I'm an investigator as well. So I've had some quite interesting communication and talks with some of the energies there, especially the gatekeepers and stuff, most definitely. And
Oh,
I just find them so peaceful, so serene. I don't know, I get a sense of feeling very secure in
yeah.
the ones that I go to, especially the one that's here in my town. I went through a really bad stage in a relationship where I wasn't being treated very nicely. I used to go to that graveyard, and I made a friendship with a spirit of a woman there called Elizabeth, and she helped me behind a gravestone to hide me because of going through domestic violence, and I left the house because I'd been badly hurt. And
Mm.
she, anytime I needed to get away, I'd go in there because nobody would walk into that graveyard, and he definitely wouldn't. So I used to sit in there and just speak to her for hours. And one day I went up there, and like I said, it took a couple of times of going there for the gatekeeper to warm to me and realise that I was okay being there. And I took him offerings and stuff up there, and I've been investigating there for about 9-10 years now. It's one of my most favourite places to go to. I've been to other places too, so I don't know. I just think that the history of it there and how everything looks so peaceful and so beautiful. I just think
Yeah.
they're amazing places. And I do like to do what your daughters do. I like to go up there and clean. I put flowers on graves
Mhm.
where people haven't been
Yeah.
visited for years. I show homage to them and wish them peace and stuff. And I think that's really important.
I
I have
think
also,
it feels
sorry.
safe. I think they feel safe. Don't you, James? Think
Yeah.
cemeteries feel safe?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. I've never felt in danger in one.
Yeah.
Also, as a matter of fact, speaking to you, Willow, I've also made a cemetery friend as well. Her name is Fanny. Um,
Oh,
so I have a friend who's also Wiccan, and we sometimes, when we go to the cemeteries and she joins me, we'll do sessions to try to communicate
Mhm.
using dowsing rods or the pendulum also to communicate with really
Yeah, I've got
fascinating
spirit
branch.
boxes and stuff as well. So I'll put the spirit boxes on so they can hear their voices coming through. It's really, really cool to do.
Ooh.
They're
And
very
I've got
cool.
like apps and stuff, and they'll come through talking, and they know me really well. They'll go Willow or they'll go Sherry because Sherry's my real name. Willow is my spiritual name as being a witch. So I'd go up there as soon as I get the box out. I get communication. I always take them offerings because I made a mistake of going up there without one, and I got really told off by the spirits once. So I don't do that anymore. So it's like, oops, it was only the one time where I was rushing. I forgot to put it in the bag.
Yeah, things I've learned from my friend as well, doing rituals in the cemetery is, you don't do it at a crossroads because she
No,
said something about you could possibly summon a crossroads demon,
Right.
and always make sure to burn sage. So we always do that.
Hmm.
it's important. You do need to keep yourself safe. Even just going
Yeah.
there to visit and stuff, if you're just talking to them, you need to make sure you don't do it on the crossroads and stuff because you don't know who you're conjuring in. Then I always
Mhm.
do it to my favourite tree in the corner, away from the crossroad bit, and I'll sit there and they just start talking and communicating. It is a very beautiful place, but it can be a very dangerous place if you don't know where to sit and where to be safe.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, did you ever follow the crows in a cemetery? Like if they ever tried to lead you? Yes.
Oh, there's loads.
At times, yeah. Not, I mean, sometimes I just kind of leave them alone because I feel like they have a message to give to somebody else besides me. And, but sometimes I do follow them because sometimes they might take you to some place. Well, I should say it's to someone that it'd be like, oh my gosh, that's an ancestor of mine or
Hmm.
something. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was how me and my friend ended up making friends with that lady, Fanny, I
Oh,
just mentioned earlier, who she passed away in 1945.
oh,
And she
Oh,
just found us like super neat and interesting. And, we even asked her, like, do you see, weird goths like this a lot at the cemetery? And she's like, yeah, I do all the time. So we weren't the first.
there's so many different names for cemeteries that we have discussed. I'm like, I really did not know there was different names.
Hmm.
What are some of the names that you was just telling me?
Well, there's a Russian word for cemetery. It's kladbische. I've always thought it was a super cool name. I only found out about that because a couple years ago I had some friends and we formed like a cemetery group where we would usually meet up. And he came up with the name. He was like, "What if we call it Club Kladbishka?" And I was like, "Ooh, that sounds cool." And he was like, "Yeah, it's just Russian for cemetery." I'm like,
Wow.
"Well, I like
wow.
it."
Oh, that's pretty cool. I know in Greek it's what's it called? Sleeping coffins or
Uh,
I forgot what it was now.
oh,
You mentioned it.
cemetery. The word cemetery is a Greek word for sleeping chambers.
Yeah.
Sleeping chambers. That's which is pretty cool. I really like that because yeah, it is sleeping chambers. Most
Hmm.
definitely.
Just a different type of sleep.
Yeah. Different type of sleep, but still
Hmm.
sleep. Yeah. How about the symbols? Because you go to a cemetery, you see all these different symbols, and you're like wondering what each of them mean.
Hmm. There are very, very many different interesting symbols out there. If you ever see like an anchor on a gravestone, that's a sign of hope. It could
Oh,
be a connection to a sea, could be a seaman. You see an arch, that's indicative of a entry to heaven. There's a lot of Christian symbolism out there in a cemetery. Um, if you see a dove, again, that's another Christian symbol. Hourglasses, passage of time.
oh,
Um, one of my favorites here would be the urn, which is a symbol of death, immortality, and penitence.
interesting. Very interesting. I think I've seen some of them
Hmm.
on there. Yeah, and now um, I think it's about 2016. You can have a pinnacle. for
Hmm.
witches now on some of the tombstone. So, and well, yeah, for military too. You can have some, which is pretty awesome because we should be known for that for our faith, and so that is really nice and everything.
Hmm.
Um, just a kind of like a silly question though, but you know, I always want to do something a segment on vampires and
Hmm.
everything. Why is it that people always think of vampires when it comes to a cemetery? Because of the undead? Is that it?
Well, of course, Hollywood and just, the words of fiction play a big part of
Mhm.
that. Um, it probably goes as far back maybe as Bram Stoker, I think. Um, he was the one who, he was the one, right, that originated the idea of a vampire in a coffin, sleeping in a coffin, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Now, in regards to association to vampires and cemeteries, that goes back to like the whole vampire panic from like, the 1600s, maybe
Mhm.
earlier, where, they suspected somebody to be a vampire if they dug them up and like they had blood dripping and they appeared of life, which, is a misunderstanding of the process of death and the breaking down of the body. Can be
Mhm.
weird sometimes. So maybe that's part of it where it comes to because they're like, oh, this person's a vampire.
Could be. Most likely, yes. But I think Hollywood does kind of like helps it along too.
Hmm.
So, but I know you have a lot of history because she was telling me that you was a history buff, especially when it comes to cemeteries. So, what other history that you have found out about different cemeteries?
Well, there. Did you know there are different types of cemeteries? The way they're laid out, the way they look, can indicate, the age of a cemetery and, of course, the type. Um, one of the older types of cemeteries going back would be like the garden type cemetery, where you go into one that's it's usually really old. You'll see a lot of trees. The graves are laid out randomly,
Hmm.
haphazardly. It's more like a garden cemetery, and that's where the name came from. But then the more newer cemeteries, more common ones you see, usually by churches, the graves are laid out in nice, tidy rows, and it's just not visually interesting. That's a lawn, like your front lawn type cemetery, is what they call
Oh,
those.
cool. And I know you said you have a cemetery that is local to you that you like to go to. So, what type of cemetery is that?
It is a garden type cemetery.
Jordan type?
It was established in 1852. The first interment in that cemetery was actually the founder's daughter. She was the
Mm-hmm.
first interment, and he ultimately established the cemetery. And being in the South, of course, Civil War took place here. So there's a Civil War section in the cemetery. There's also a Jewish section. There's a yellow fever section. There's several different sections.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of sadness comes from the yellow fever section.
Wow. Now, Sister Willow, I know you have a cemetery that you like to go to. So, why don't you tell us about your cemetery? What makes it special for you?
Obviously, yeah, they go out in bows, but there are some very old, like tombstones and stuff there, and there's even the ones that look like the coffins that are laying down in the ground. There's a couple of them. You've got the grave ones where they've got like the stone wall bit going around them, but really
Mm-hmm.
low in the ground. I like I said to you, like when I'm there, I do feel the history because there's a lot of different energy there. Not all of them are up to date energy of people passing. Some of them are really old. Like for instance, Elizabeth, she's like from the 1920s or something. So she wears like totally different clothing to what we do, and she's just got a completely different character to a lot of the energies I meet in there. There's a couple of other ones that are with her, like a couple of males that come up very like I don't know how to put it like a ladies' man, but not a ladies' man. Like they're just very like talkative, and if you're pretty, they're not scared to tell you you're pretty. I've had that a few times, and I've actually really weirdly, I've actually had something that's come over my spirit box a few times saying, "I want to bite your neck."
Oh,
So yeah,
A little
that
kinky.
kind of, I was like, have we got a vampire here? Like looking around, like.
hmm. That'd
Like
be interesting.
if you look like Angel off of like Buffy, you can that'd be fine. Just
Yeah.
but
Have you ever
Right.
tried to
little
do
creepy
research on
man.
it?
And I've had it a few times walking through like woodlands that's like near graveyards as well, where they've just come out saying, "I want to bite your neck."
I've been doing research, like,
I taste blood. I taste your blood. I've had that as well. I taste your blood, and it's like,
oh wow,
what?
I would love it. I would love that.
And I've got a
And
really big fascination with vampires. I think they're really cool. I
me
don't know what it
too.
Yeah.
is. Very suspenseful, aren't they? Like, you just feel like very jawed by them and pulled in. I just don't know what it is about them, but they're really cool. But my cemetery is just one of those places you feel really calm, you feel really safe, you feel protected there, but at the same time you can feel the history, and you get some really interesting people there. There's a couple of priests and stuff that are buried there as well. They're a little bit more subtle when they speak. They're kind of like, you should not be here, and the mirror. It's like, I'm not hurting anybody. I'm being respectful.
Yes, yes. I think if you are respectful for the dead, and if you like show that you care, like you said, bring
Yeah,
flowers or clean off their tombstones,
they
um
used to be quite rude to me. They used to be quite rude to me. These
oh
priests.
really?
They're not so bad now because they've
What
seen that
the,
I've
Right.
walked. They've seen me walk around the graveyard, obviously, and clean up things and lift up any stones that have fallen and try and put them back in
yeah,
place. And I do try, and I leave like offerings and stuff there for them,
yeah,
for the gatekeepers, and they're not as bad now. But sometimes if I do walk in their direction and their area at night, they'll be like, "Please do not disturb me. I don't want to talk." And it's like, okay, I'll just move back the other way. And sometimes they do come to me. It really depends on them, but. So it's an interesting place, and I don't just get communication with like normal energy there as well. I've got a lot of there is a lot of like nature felt energy there, elemental energy there. Like sometimes I'll hear what sounds like water running. I know there's a water elemental in the graveyard somewhere.
Hmm.
It's interesting.
awesome. There was a cemetery that Chris and I went to, um when we was dating, and we still went there after we had kids just to get away from the kids, kind of chill. And I probably 18, I would say about 1800s. But there was a tombstone with like an angel on it, and if you would be really quiet, you would hear her cry around midnight. I mean, she would
Oh
actually
wow!
cry. Yeah, it was really something. But then we moved, and when we moved to about 2 hours away, there was another cemetery that it's a tombstone called the Black Angel. It was, and the reason why it was black, it wasn't black when it first came over. It came over from Europe someplace for Aristocat or something,
Hmm.
and over time it just turned black. And there was a saying of, if you touch the Black Angel, death will be on you in 24 hours. And,
Oh
and
wow!
I know. And
Ominous.
my kids now, it only happens to my kids, okay? So Amy, she's just like, I don't really believe it. I have so much faith in the goddess, I don't believe it. And I didn't know she did this. Otherwise, I'd be kind of like, oh, I don't know. I kind of believe in superstitious too. But she went up there and she just hugged her on her legs, you
Hmm.
know. And her friends just freaked out. They're like, "Oh my God, Amy, you're gonna die in 24 hours." And she was okay and everything, and and they thought, Okay, maybe because she's a witch. Maybe that's why and everything. And I told her, I go, no, I think maybe because you actually hugged her and not
Yeah.
touched her, that hugging her, she sensed that you was warm. I go, so I think that was it. Because there's been other people that has touched her and actually not died, but actually got really, really sick where they had to go to the hospital. So that's why her friends just kind of, freaked out.
Hmm.
So, but that was really
So
interesting.
she probably sees that as sort of like a trick thing because you've been warned about what she's supposed to be able to do. Why would you go and poke her or touch her? Do you know what I mean? So
Right.
Amy thought I'll do the opposite and try and show her that I'm not there to like upset her
Oh,
or
yeah.
you
If you
know.
know Amy, Amy's that type of person where she doesn't listen. She would just do it,
Hmm.
because I think it's because I have taught her dad and I have taught her so much faith in the gods that faith can conquer all. And she has that in her, kind of like more or less burn in her head. So she's like, yeah, you know, I can do that, because I got a lot of faith. So, but
I've been to graveyards where that there was one that had a tower in it, and apparently they say that Satan's supposed to jump from the top of it and try to like get your soul. And
oh
I,
wow,
like, my investigators were with me, and they were like, "Are you serious? Are you serious? We're going in here. Have you heard about the stories?" I said, "Yeah, come on, it's all right." I said, "I've got faith in my energies." I said, "Just don't touch anything you shouldn't be touching. Let's just walk around. We're not being disrespectful or anything. Nothing ever happened to us or anything like that. Like, yeah, it was a creepy feeling. That was one that didn't feel very nice. There was a lot of energy there, but
okay, we have
nothing
a
happened. It
question
weren't
here, so let's
disrespectful.
let's go with this question from Salem. If I could bring it up. Okay, I have a question. Has anyone spent time in a pet cemetery and picked up on an animal spirit? Hmm, I don't
I
think
have not. No.
you have not. You, Sherry?
I've I've never, to be honest, I've never seen a pet cemetery around here. Normally, like people bury their animals in their gardens and things. So if that's classed as a pet cemetery, then I've walked on many of my pets, but
Mm-hmm.
and see them all
Same.
the time, but not in a graveyard or grave or anything like that. No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same. I haven't seen one either, other than the movie.
Oh yeah, they
Yeah.
are definitely all around us. I've seen spirit animals in the graveyard, but I don't think it's because they're buried there. They just wander about. They're free
Hmm.
spirit, aren't they? But
Oh yeah, I've seen like spirit animals around the area, where I live
yeah,
at.
Hmm.
Um, but never a pet cemetery or anything. Probably a pet that was buried in a backyard of somebody's neighbor's house or something, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
I don't know
animals.
if I'd like to go to a pet cemetery.
Oh, I know. Animal spirits are around us. You just have to listen.
Oh
You
yeah.
know what? You're
Yeah.
right. You do. You have to listen to any kind of spirit. So really, I mean, you have to be in tune to nature and to the cemeteries and everything around you, the trees,
Yes,
nature.
sis.
First. Yes.
Yeah.
And we got another one here. Drew, I didn't sense spirits at the time. I go back now and I'm connected and see. Yes.
Yeah. You probably feel a lot more and sense a lot more. Like I
Yeah.
said, I've seen spirits of animals around, but I can't say I've ever walked into a graveyard that's just for animals. And I don't think I'd want to walk into one, to be honest, because
Mhm. Now,
I don't.
James, you say you
Hmm.
have a friend that was a Wiccan. Um,
Yes.
and so she's done rituals in the cemetery.
Hmm.
Okay.
I was with
How
her a couple times.
can you tell us how it kind of turned out for her?
Oh, it was always super fascinating. So I was always kind of a skeptic. I'm a little bit of a skeptic about things, pretty much everything. I had to see it for myself. So the first time I did it with her, the dowsing rods, like there's an energy. It's almost like static electricity. It's like a feeling I'll describe to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the same thing with the pendulum. I just sat there, and held it, asked the question, and then it started moving, doing its thing, and it's weird. It's like a little static energy going on in your fingers. I'm like, what is this? This is so cool. And
Oh,
then
wow.
I asked some questions that
Mm-hmm.
asked of the spirit, and it was actually able to answer. I was like, oh, holy shit. And then I do have another story too. So me and my friend discovered the best way to get a reaction out of spirits if you want to communicate with them is music. Because even as the living, we all love music. So
Mm-hmm.
this one time we were hanging out and she was doing the rods and everything, and I decided to pull up my phone and I started playing some late 19th, early 20th century music, early Vitrola type recordings.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was playing that, a song by the Haydn Quartet, she told me that she noticed out of the corner of her eye over near a tree that there is a couple doing a waltz. Because
Oh,
she says that she can
Oh,
see them sometimes, like out of the corner of her eye. If she tries to look like dead on at them, she loses them. But it's more like a corner of the eye thing, she says.
that happens a lot. I notice that sometimes I can see spirits in the corner of my eye, but once I turn my head to actually look, it's like they move over to always want to be in my view of the corner of the eye. It's like they
Mhm.
don't really want to be seen, but want you to know that they're there.
Yeah,
So that's quite amazing. So
I thought it was beautiful.
I wish I would have known that I would have her come on tonight and talk about her experience too as well.
Mm.
But I know you have a thing about Hirsch, right? Hirsch's,
Hearses, yeah. Funeral cars. Oh,
yeah.
yeah, funeral cars. I am a car guy, of course. I love old cars, and I absolutely love hearses. Well, they in the industry they call them funeral cars. They don't like to call them hearses. I guess
Mm-hmm.
it's more of a professional term to call it funeral car.
Yeah.
But being a car guy and being goth, of course, the hearse falls right into my thing. And I do have quite a collection of model hearses I've been collecting over the years, different types, different coach makers. I find them absolutely beautiful.
Actually, I think they are. I mean, I have friends that used to buy them and refurbish them and
Mhm.
drive them around. And I know everybody's like, "Why in the heck do you want to drive that?" But you know what? I think it's beauty of just seeing it because it's like you taking the persons to the sleeping chambers, more or
Mhm.
less. And it's I think it's respectful. I really
Yeah,
do.
everyone should get a last ride in a fancy Cadillac, right?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
mm, they are
And
beautiful
also,
cars.
when I was in high school, I had a friend. He had a '72 Cadillac hearse, so of course jealous of him, as most of us were. And we always had little parties and hung out in the back of the hearse, and that was always fun.
So, looks like we have another comment that we can bring up here. Cemeteries I find cause confusion. So much intense feeling in a few seconds leave you if you're able to read and or receive feelings, thoughts, feeling something is missing. Yeah, I must
Yeah.
definitely say that.
Yeah, sometimes you can pick up intense feelings out there, definitely.
Oh,
If it becomes to be too much, yeah, definitely leave, come back. You
Yeah,
mm.
just
and
have
it
to feel
can
the
feel like
energy.
that
Hmm.
sometimes.
How do you guys feel about when you come back from the same cemetery? Now, I never do. Maybe I should, but I never cleanse myself. I
Um,
just, 'cause I feel like I don't have to. I feel like, it's safe for me and everything. But some other witches or any other person may want to cleanse himself. So, what's your thoughts about that?
it can be important, definitely. That's why sage is used. Um, Only when I'm out there with my friend communicating. If I'm just going to go out there for like an hour or two just to get away and just relax and read a book or listen to music or whatever,
Mhm.
I don't do cleansings before, during, or after. But the number one rule is, of course, never take anything from the cemetery home with you.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the important part.
I do sage. I mean, I sage when I'm there and stuff, but I do nothing before or after, really.
Hmm.
You know, I just, I don't feel like I have to. How about
Hmm.
you, Sherry?
Well, because I have abilities and things like that, I don't have to necessarily go there and to communicate. They'll just come over anyway. So for me, I always do a cleansing, not so that they can't come near me, but just so that I'm protected. I always do that before I go
Yeah.
and when I get back, because spirits for some reason have the tendency to try to follow me. So I'll normally come out of the graveyard, say thank you, you must stay here, you cannot follow me home, you're not invited to come to my
Yeah.
house, and I'll sage over me as I'm doing this, and I'll leave, I'll get home, and I normally just turn my altar on and sit in front of my altar for a little bit and just envision the white light around me and around my home, and
Hmm.
it does me perfectly. And I normally have like a shower, a
Hmm.
ritual shower as well,
Yeah.
but that's just because of my abilities. I think if I didn't have my abilities, probably not so much.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You should always say thank
Yeah.
you, a little prayer,
I always ask for
before you
permission to go
leave.
in as well. I won't just walk into it. I ask for permission to go in as well.
Yeah. Yeah. You always should ask that before you leave. Just say thank you before you enter. If you're entering that you don't, that you don't have a relative there, you should always ask. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to look at different, you know, headstones, and I'm going to clean them off for you. And, if you tell them what you're doing, I feel like they appreciate that. Instead of
Yeah,
just walking in
Hmm.
and everything.
yeah. No, I've never just walked in. I'll normally just come to the gate and I'll get the
Yeah.
sage out and I'll sage myself, and then I'm like, "May I enter this? May I enter the cemetery?" The
Mhm.
gatekeeper will normally talk to me, and then I'll go up to the gatekeeper and I'll just say, I'm here to visit you all, to see how you are, to see if there's anywhere that needs cleaning, and to just leave some offerings. I hope you don't mind. And I may do some communication using some of my objects. But obviously, at the place I
Hmm.
go to, they're used to me, so they know what I'm there for. But when I'm in other places, I always make sure I do that anyway. But
Mhm.
in other places, definitely. I just
I
think it's
never had
important.
any bad experience after
No,
coming out of a cemetery at all. Um,
no.
in fact, I just feel more at peace with myself,
Yeah,
actually. So, how about you, James? What do you do?
I definitely feel more relaxed and at peace. I've never had a negative experience in a cemetery. It's always been positive. Um,
And we got Drew that says, I always sage before I go out investigating anywhere.
mhm.
If I feel bad around, I always sage just in case, even with unusual places. Yes,
Yes.
I, yeah. I mean, it is important to sage. Don't get me wrong. It's important to sage. Um, it's just that if you feel at peace, and if you do everything correctly, like, thank you, don't come home with me, and if you feel like you have peace with it, then that'd be okay. You can still go home and cleanse yourself, take a shower, whichever you want to do. Yes. So, and leaving. Does anybody ever leave coins on the head
Yeah.
tombstones?
I've done a couple, yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes, I've
Now,
seen that. Mhm.
James, do you know what some of the coins mean on the headstones?
I don't know. In my personal opinion, I would think it would just be a relative or a friend
Mm-hmm.
just giving money to the dead. I'm not sure if there's any symbolism on just the whole coins on the thing, other than it just being a personal thing, maybe with a relative.
Well, I
Like
know.
offerings of like kind of like an offering of, a small bottle of alcohol or a pack of cigarettes. Somebody will sometimes leave on there.
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
thinking.
I used to give my kids pennies, because pennies are supposed to mean that you're going to visit a grave.
Okay.
Um, I know nickels is like a visitor that is training for some kind of, I don't know if it's a military camp or
Oh.
what, and somebody died in training.
Oh. Okay.
Um, and then I think a dime is like Byzantine, or is it it's either a dime or a quarter that is a Byzantine, a relative that has been deceased. But I think nickel and dimes are like military related,
Hmm.
but I'm not for sure.
Yeah. And also sometimes they're like the coins also represent the energy that you can give to the
Yeah.
spirit and currency.
Mm-hmm.
And Drew's put something up that says that, yeah, the thermite, so, and energies, yeah, she's saying the same thing, and it carries with them, so it helps to give them energy and
Oh,
stuff as well.
there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, that's
for
cool.
sure. And my friend Wendy, she's actually in the military, or was in the military too.
Gives,
Oops,
yeah,
wrong one.
gives
There
currency
we
to them
go.
on the other side.
There we go. I always
Yeah.
clean my shoes off after leaving the cemetery. This is nothing. Oh yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Clean your shoes off. Um, yeah. That's. Oh, I'm always a barefoot person anyway. Or if I do go to cemetery, yeah, I do wear shoes, but yeah, I take them off. I always take them off. But thank you, Wendy. That's a good reminder for people if you visit a cemetery is to do that.
Well, that's pretty cool about the coin thing you were saying because, yeah, I did not know that. And that was actually something I always wondered about myself, too. I just figured it's like, oh, just leaving some money for the dead. So
Yeah,
that's
it
pretty
is.
cool. And if there is a military association with the whole nickel thing, yeah, so next time I go to visit my grandfather's grave, now I'm going to want to leave some change on his grave now because he's
Yeah.
ex-military.
Yeah. Well, coins altogether, I think it doesn't matter if you have a nickel or a dime. Any coins does keep the memories of the soldiers alive too, as well.
Yeah.
It's always a good offering to give them, just like flowers. My kids used they used to pick dandelions. I know, not the greatest flow of flowers. Well, they were little kids back then, and my son just recently, about probably 4 years ago, took his son out to clean the tombstones and um, everything, swept them and cleaned them with the water and everything. And he always left a carnation. He bought like a dozen carnations and just left them there, So, yeah, we got to teach our kids respect, and
Oh, yeah.
that there's something to be afraid of cemeteries at all. So, because there's a lot of histories in cemeteries, a lot of history.
Indeed. So yeah, whenever I go to visit my grandfather's grave, now I'm going to want to leave coins there. Usually when I go to visit him, I just have 10, 15 minutes at least of just quiet time and I just sit there and I think back on memories with him
Hmm.
when I was younger as a kid. So in a way I can still see him and visit him even though he's gone now.
Hmm. Yeah, I know when we went out to the East Coast, we went to Lizzie Borden's house
Ooh,
and
interesting.
went to her grave. That was where her family plot was and everything. And being the way that we are, it was probably about 8 o'clock at night that we decided to go out. So it was really dark, but they mark it because it's a very high point. Everybody wanted to go see. So the market, and when you go there, you can feel all of them,
Mm-hmm.
and they have plates out for them where you could do offerings and everything. And I mean, these plates are pretty big plates and pretty filled too. And I often wonder, go, what happened? What would they do if they get too filled up? You know, and um, the caretaker, I guess, the tour guide at the Lizzie's house, she said that they take them and they buy flowers for the Lizzie Borden's place and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
they also take in, for water and claws, and they really polish up. They really look nice. You can't even tell how old they were. I mean, they really polish them up really good. But I thought that was kind of nice for them to do that. So,
A famous grave, speaking of that, that I would like to visit would be Edgar Allan Poe's grave.
ooh,
Mm-hmm. That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
I bet he has a raven on his tombstone.
I think he does. If he doesn't, I hope he does. If he doesn't.
Oh yeah, I hope he does. Very sure. Yeah. See, we got. Let me see. Drew says, just Googled it. It's called Hell Money. Let me see. What was that before she said that?
I think it was
Um,
about the currency, leaving money.
Yeah,
Probably
no,
so.
let it
Was
come to because on the other
yeah,
side they don't have money the way we do, but by leaving money, it gives them treats that they would have been used to here up there, sort of
yeah,
thing.
Mhm.
It's currency.
yeah. Well, you guys, we're gonna go for a break here for about a minute and 30 seconds in. Okay, and then we'll be back with some more questions to answer and some more information about histories and everything cemetery. So if you just
Love
come back.
you.
Today's Witch Magazine, brought to you by Covered Bridge Press, LLC. Imagine a world where every month you're greeted with a 50-page print magazine packed with high-quality graphics specifically tailored for the pagan community. Today's Witch Magazine is your gateway to a universe of insights, inspiration, and enlightenment. Whether you're a seasoned practitioner or just beginning your journey, this magazine supports all pagan traditions and levels of experience. Each issue is a treasure trove of interviews with luminaries like Oberon Zell, educational materials, and thought-provoking articles. Subscribers rave about the knowledge they gain and the vibrant community they join. But the magic doesn't stop there. Other publications include their Travel Guide for Pagans, featuring over 309 stores across the states, updated yearly to keep your spiritual travels seamless. And for those who love a mental challenge, their Pagan Puzzle Book offers 63 engaging puzzles and 13 coloring pages, perfect as an educational tool or just for fun. Today's Witch Magazine invites you to become part of this growing community. With affordable advertising options, you can share your event or business with a vibrant audience. Their commitment to ethical values and fact-checking ensures you're getting quality content every time. So, what are you waiting for? Visit todayswitch.net now to subscribe and explore advertising opportunities. Let Today's Witch Magazine be your monthly companion in the magical world of paganism.
Hi, and we're back
Yes.
for the second half of All Things Cemetery. While we was on break, my husband's like, you know, you should talk about giving a shot to the dead when you go for, like, if you go for like somebody's birthday that or well, he was a military person, so he knows a few military people that has passed away, and we
Mhm.
give them a shot at the graveyard too. And yeah, that's something that you can do too. Just make sure you clean up everything.
Oh yeah, and
So,
make sure you find out the right kind of alcohol they like.
and we have okay. So let me see. Somebody says, okay, James, you want to read that?
Yes, a commemorative stone marking Edgar Allan Poe's grave plot has a raven carved on it. The stone also has the inscription "Quoth the Raven nevermore." Brilliant. It's beautiful.
Awesome.
So it does. That's
I want to go see his site. Yeah. And Wendy, she says, I wonder if this can relate to the mythos about the boatman who carries the dead to the underworld. Maybe the person leaves a coin to help with someone who might feel the dead is stuck here.
oh
Yes.
Very
right.
well be, yeah.
The toll for the ferryman. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Paying for
So,
their way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Paying for the way. Yeah, because they used to do that. Um, what was that? I think somebody would just lay down. Well, the deceased would lay down and they have their eyes closed and pour coins on their head. Oh,
Yeah.
not their
Hmm.
head, but their eyes. I mean, on their eyes too.
Eyes.
Yeah, but that was
Yes,
also meant to
I've
be so
seen
that
that.
they could not see as well. Like
Yeah,
so that the spirit did not see.
And I have
Uh,
seen that being
uh-oh.
done, even at a funeral home too. Somebody would do that.
And they say that sometimes you can tell which, like, some of the graves are when there's like witches and people like that buried as well, because they have like the metal pipe, like metal framing that goes round and has certain chains going across it and
Hmm.
stuff like that. Like, 'cause it's meant to bound and keep them in. And it was said that when they were actually buried, if you was witch and that, they would put chains then that to your feet. You would have to have the witches would have to wear shoes because the
Oh,
spirit could get in through our feet,
yeah.
make us see and come. Like, there's loads of myths on witches' graves.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now we got Drew comment here. Um, that's the way the shaman path on investigations we only leave bread and water because they represent soul and spirit.
Mhm.
Yes, you
Yeah,
can do.
we do in shamanism, and
Yeah,
also tobacco, which helps the spirits to have energy as well.
tobacco. Yes. Yeah, don't leave alcohol in certain religious cemeteries that they may be
They
offered.
may be,
Always
yeah,
clean up everything too.
they may
Mhm.
become offended.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Offended.
yeah, offended.
Speaking of the tobacco, my grandmother smoked Lucky Strikes, so maybe I should leave her some next time.
Yeah, you should.
Mhm.
With
They
shamans,
really,
they leave it for a lot in like an area for just like all the
they
spirits as well.
do.
Like, they leave it there as an energy thing, and
Yeah.
like she was
Yeah.
saying, the bread and the water only also because it's actually safe for nature. Because you got to remember what you're putting down. An animal or something could eat that, and you don't want to be harming the animal. So
Mhm.
Right.
it's always good to just put something that's simple down. Sometimes I take some fruit, like I take some sultanas and raisins up there and some little nuts because I know the birds and that I love that, but
Mhm.
I don't really and bread and water, but
Mhm. I have
herbs,
a
herbs.
I have a Cherokee friend that always taught us years ago to put tobacco in little bags like door satchels and tie them to the tree around the cemetery. That it helps out with everything in the cemetery, and some of the Native Americans really likes that too as well. And okay, so James, you want to read this one?
Long story. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Long story. Yes. Spirits can get stuck. I'd say they don't know they're dead or oppressed. It's a weird subject, but most that can be sent over if they are confused. Yeah, that's something I heard. That is sometimes the dead don't know they're dead.
Yeah, and they also say, or
You
angry,
can
it's
carry
hard
on.
to get their attention to help them.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that just made me think of the movie Sixth Sense and that line in there. Sometimes the dead don't know they're dead.
Yeah, they
yeah,
wander around thinking that they're still alive and don't realise.
Mhm.
I've seen a few
yeah.
like that.
Oh yeah, I have too. I really have, and it kind of breaks my heart too. Especially when they don't know they're dead, and you have to tell them.
Mhm.
I'm sorry,
I've
but
had to do that a
I'm
few
not here.
times. I've got in tears doing it as well because some of the reactions were not the way that I expected.
You
They
know,
they so shocked and upset, and they're like, "Well, I'm not with my family," and that, and like they just get really confused because some of them will visit their homes and think they're still actually there. But I've
hmm
had it where they're like, "Oh, I go to my loved one's house and they don't talk to me. They don't
yeah,
even know that I'm there. They're ignoring me." And I'm like, I think you might be a little bit confused, sweetheart. Let me just explain
yeah,
something to you. Was you sick or did something happen to you in their talk? And I'd be like,
yeah,
you've gone to the light. And that it's not that your family are ignoring you, it's that you're not there physically anymore. You're only there in spirit, so they can't
Mhm.
see you. And
yeah,
I've had some of them be so distraught, and you have to sit there for hours and talk. Well, I've had to sit there for hours and talk to them and help them to understand. And some of them it gets scared to even go over because they don't want to leave their families and they feel they've got unfinished business.
Mhm.
hmm
Like some of them they go unexpectedly, don't they? So
Yeah.
And it's sad to see them like that, especially
It
children.
is.
Children do me a lot. Like people say that kids, like they go straight over to the light. I've seen kids that are trapped here because they can't leave their parents and things like that.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
Not a
I
nice thing.
I'm very I'm empathy when it comes um, with kids or anything. I can feel what's going on with them. It gets really sad. I get really emotional. So yeah, I get emotional a lot in cemeteries at times because I can feel them just asking questions, or not knowing, and it's 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 kind of sad. You really have to
And some of
shut
them have been here for so long. Some of them have been here for years and years and years and years, and most of their family have passed over, and they're not even aware of it. So
down.
they're searching and looking, and them ones I find a little bit easier because once you explain to them, look, you're actually in the same situation as your loved ones. It's
Yeah.
actually this date. They're like, huh? What's blah blah
Mhm.
blah? And I'm like, well, that's the year we're in. And they normally reveal what year they're from, and it's like, yeah, that's way gone past. So your loved ones will be up there waiting for you, and them ones I find quite easy to cross over because I do a lot of crossing over for spirits and stuff, and use
Mhm.
candles and stuff, and do prayers, and even do it at my house as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. Being an empath is, you know, it's kind of hard when you go to cemeteries, but I
yeah,
learned to just kind of shield myself a little bit better and everything. I can still pick up, but I don't get really true emotional like I used to. But I used to be a mess at times, but I would still go back. So, how
it
about
is. It
you?
is really hard when you've got abilities because you do feel them a
Yes.
lot more. Because obviously with me, I see, feel, and hear.
Mhm.
Hearing is not my most strongest point, but I do hear them to an
Yeah.
extent.
Hmm.
But it's more seeing and feeling them. I get the visions and stuff like that. I get that feeling. I can feel where they've been injured or and
Mm.
things like that. So sometimes it can be really overwhelming, especially when
Yeah.
they're really putting their energy onto you. It's just like, wow, like you went
Oh
through
yeah.
something really bad, like it's not nice at
Oh
times.
yeah. How about you, James? How do you feel sometimes when do you pick up any hearing or emotions, anything?
Well, my friend Lily the Wiccan is
Mhm.
much more of an empath than me in that regard. She picks up on it a lot more than I do. Um, I will say, I guess I'm a little bit not as in tune as her, but a little bit. So, um, most of the time, like I said, I don't get any pick up on any negative energies, thankfully, at least in the cemeteries that I've gone to so far in my local area. Um, but she would. She's much more of an empath than I am.
Yeah. Yeah, it can wear and tear on you sometimes. Just I think if you are an empath, you just have to learn how to shield yourself a lot.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it can really make you go crazy at times. I know everything. So, what else? What other histories you can tell us, James, about a cemetery? Because you're the cemetery guy. I know you love cemeteries.
I do, and I actually my appreciation for the places began way back when I was a kid in elementary school. I was living in West Point, New York at the time,
Mhm.
and we took a field trip somewhere. Like, want to feel like it was maybe like old Salem kind of thing or something. And while we were there, we went to this really old cemetery and walked around and they discussed the history, some revolutionary gravestones and all that. It was really cool. And I did some gravestone etchings, and that was really fun. So it goes way back to when I was a little kid, is where I picked up the appreciation for it.
Yeah, I know when we go to Salem, Massachusetts, and we always pay our respect because they have a like a memorial, well, kind of like a walk where you can walk through,
Hmm.
and all the names that was accused is on benches, and of course, there's coins and flowers and stuff. I'll walk through. I have to have sunglasses on, and the reason is I start crying.
Um,
I get so emotional walking from one for the first one clear to the last one. especially for our ancestor. We have an ancestor, Elizabeth Howe, um, that was mixed up in all that. And, you know, when I come to hers, I'm like, I really, I get so emotional. I just shake. It's like I got the chills
Mm.
and everything. But it's just, I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, it's nothing bad. It's just that you feel for them. What happened to them. It really hurts. It's really heartbreaking.
Mhm.
So, but I go back every time because it's like I have to. so, so, let me see any more questions from my audience. Miss Drew again. I love to for that. I may do it down in my local cemetery. I think I'd be surprised.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, that's true. Very
Oh yeah,
true.
you'd always be surprised by them. Mhm.
hmm Now, how about I know there's like family crypts that you
Mhm.
can walk by. I know I can pick up some energy. Sometimes some negative, sometimes some positive, just like you do with everything. The balance of it. Um, do you do anything special for the crypts?
Well, I think they're super interesting, and usually when I see one and I walk by, I try to see if I can see inside to it.
hmm
Sometimes you can, sometimes you can see and you can see like the crypts that they would have
Yeah.
put the caskets inside of, and there'd be like a
hmm
nameplate on it.
Yeah.
Um, I always found mausoleums super cool. They're like tiny little houses for the dead to live in.
Yeah.
And I kind of want one myself too, whenever I pass on. It's so awesome.
Yeah. My son is like, we need to get a family mausoleum. I was like, no, we don't. He's like, yeah, we do. So, but I'm the person that I just want to be cremated.
Mm,
Um, Save the land on the earth or something. You
mm,
know, if I had my way about it, I just go on a boat like back in the mid times, and they shoot. They would just shoot some fire at me, and I
mhm,
burn up on the water, or how the Vikings used to do, but
mhm.
can't do that anymore. So
I know that's my mother's wishes. I think she said she wanted
yeah,
to be cremated. For me, after I go, I think I'd like my body to go to science, donate it to science, and let them learn from my mistakes. Cut me up and be like, "This is why you shouldn't smoke."
yeah,
So at
true.
least something is being done with my body.
Yeah,
And then when they're done with it, natural burial.
yeah, natural.
Toss my remains out into the woods.
I used to tell my kids. I think about I don't know 4 or 6 years ago, there was having you can be buried into a tree
Ooh.
and like plant the tree or something. And I always tell my kids, I'm going to be buried as a tree. You plant me, and I'll always be there for everybody
Mhm,
for centuries. You know, and they're like, "Oh, mom, you too much of a hippie chick or something." Be
mhm.
buried into a tree, but coming to think of it, it's yeah, it's not, it's not a bad idea or anything. It'd be kind of cool. So, what do you
Tree
think?
burial.
Yeah, what do you think, Grillo? What would you like to be cremated or?
Yeah, I'm a bit cringed about the thought of being in the ground and having things eating me. And as much as I
Mhm,
love nature, I just don't think I would
Yeah,
like that. Um,
yeah,
I definitely want to be cremated, and I just want to be set free in the middle of a massive woodlands where the fairies and everything are, and
aw,
just let me go. Let me go.
that
And
sounds
maybe
really
save a
nice.
little bit of my ash and actually put it into a tree. Yeah, I would
Mhm,
love to grow into a tree.
yeah. See, I'm not so crazy after all.
No,
mhm.
it's a beautiful thought. You think life's carrying on. You're carrying on inside that
Yeah,
tree. You become a tree spirit. There you go. You become a
yeah,
Mhm,
tree
and
spirit.
you can see your grandkids and your great
Yeah,
grandkids. Unless
Yeah,
everybody moved, but if they move, that's fine. You can see other people's
get
kids
other
moving
children
in.
and that. Yeah, but I still want to be able to see everything that happens.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Be really tall, and you can see all around you. That's thing. That's
gain my
pretty.
wings, put me in the middle of nature with my fairies, I'll be fine. I'll gain my wings as well.
Hmm.
So I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to be embalmed, because of that very reason, not wanting to put those chemicals in the ground. There's no reason to
True.
put those chemicals inside of me to
Mhm.
preserve me for like 2 days for
No,
a funeral.
Yeah.
No embalming. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. So I know there's so much that we can talk about the cemeteries. When um when you go to a cemetery and you see maybe a broken tombstone, do you try to put it back? Do you report it? Do what do you do?
It depends for me on the condition of said tombstone. Um, I obviously, if it's already damaged, I don't want to take a risk in damaging it any
Yeah.
further. You know, or sometimes a lot of these headstones, tombstones are made out of really heavy concrete. So of course, I can't really just jump in there and prop it back up. Um, I try to clean trash off the graves, and I do leave notes. There are at the gate to the cemetery. There's an area where you can leave notes with the
Mm-hmm.
security guard house that's right there, and you can make notes about graves that are toppled over or look like they're about to fall over. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I do try to report those. But me personally, obviously, I physically wouldn't be able to have read some of the headstones again.
Right.
And again, I already said, I don't want to damage anything.
Yeah. I mostly just kind of just leave it like it is, but take pictures of it. Because then I would just report it to the city and it says, hey, you have some tombstones that is broken. I don't know what you want to do with it, but out of respect, you should do something at
Mhm.
least. You know. How about you, Willow?
I'm pretty much the same. Like I did say to you, I have been known to go around and pick some of the gravestones up. Obviously, not the really big ones because just can't lift them, and half of them are
Yeah.
welded into the ground because they're so like big and heavy.
Oh
But
yeah.
there's like little ones that are fallen over and they're no
Mhm.
damage. I'll pick them up and put them back where they
Mm-hmm.
should be, and things like that. I'll report if I see any that look like they're about to topple over. That I'll tell my church. It looks like a couple of your gravestones might be a bit wear for tear, and they're like, okay, thank you for letting me know and stuff. But 9 times out of 10, I like to just leave them be, unless they're just little ones that have fallen over or something. I leave them be and just report
Yeah.
it. And I do like going around and cleaning, picking up any rubbish that may have flown over the wall into the
Mhm.
graveyard. I'll go and pick it up, put gloves on, pick
Yeah.
that up, leave them flowers and stuff like that. So I do really care about gravestones and the graveyard and that. It's
Yeah.
really important to me.
Yeah. I think we all should care about the cemeteries, because even though we may not know someone who is there, um, it's just respect. Um, when you, I know a lot of people says, "Oh, you dead, you dead," but
No,
not
but
really.
you know when people are visiting you and not.
Right? I
Mhm.
mean, you should respect everybody to clean off the graves, wash them down, or you
Yeah.
know offer offerings, talk to them. So, and okay, James, you can read these two here.
Oh, it's Druiden. I've called council about them, but up here the council makes the families repair them. If it's not too bad, they'll kind of bind it together and leave a notice.
And then Wendy again.
There actually are some cultures that plant a tree when you are born, so your spirit is attached to the tree. Upon the person's death, their spirit goes back to the tree. That's pretty cool. Kind of
I
pretty
love
cool.
that.
Yeah.
I really,
Yeah,
really. Really love that. Yeah. And yes, Drew, the resting place is very important to everyone, for sure.
Definitely, definitely. And they do know when when they're not visited and things like that. And they always, I've always found that they're so thankful for when I go up there. Like I'll
Mhm.
put like a massive bunch of flowers into like a little
Yeah.
standing up urn thing, and I go, "This is for you spirits," so it's for them all to enjoy. Sometimes I'll take a couple of bouquets up and put a flower on each grave, and I just go around and go, "I hope you don't mind me putting this down to you, but I just
Mhm.
wanted you to know that there is someone that is thinking of you and knows that you had a life." And
Oh,
you
Yeah.
know, I do that out of respect because I think they do appreciate it, and I've heard it so many times in my spirit box. Thank you for bringing flowers to me, and they say lots of things, and it's heartwarming.
mhm.
I have to try a spirit box. I never try one. I need to get one and try that
They're
as a
interesting. They
cemetery.
are interesting. I've done it where I've not really gone there with the intentions to
Mhm.
start communicating, but I'm getting a lot of like attention from the spirits there. So I'll put like me Ovlius on or my EVP, and I always get voices coming over and talking, and they'll say you're sitting on the grass. They'll say about certain things they can see near me, so you know that they're there because they're
Mhm.
saying what I've got in my bag and things. Like how would they know what's in my
Mhm.
bag? You know,
Yeah.
you just can't deny that, and it's weird. And when they call your name, which I get a lot, there goes Sherry or
Mhm.
Willow. I've got one that always goes "Hello, Princess," but that's
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
James. He's like an old chap, but he always goes "Hello, Princess." It's just like, oh,
That's not. I think the best time I like to go in the cemetery is like really early in the morning
Oh,
when the
yeah,
morning dew sets in and you get kind of misty, look on it. It's because in nighttime too. Of course, I have been at cemeteries nighttime many times. Morning, but first dawn and dusk is usually when
mhm.
I like to go. And during the daytime, this sometimes there's some people around, and I just I'd rather just be kind of like alone.
Mhm.
Besides having other people like staring at me, and I'm like, she's washing that grave off, or she's doing this, or she's leaving an offering, because you know it's natural for a lot of people to do that, but some people are just so judgmental. And
Mhm. Yeah. There was maybe once or twice where, hanging out in the
I do
cemetery,
agree
someone
with it.
walking by. The what?
yeah,
Yeah, I've gotten a weird look once or twice, but most of the time, people leave me alone, mind their own business.
yeah, yeah. I live in a very small town, so it's like 800, but yeah, 800 people in the town, and it's like everybody knows everybody's business. So
Mhm. Oh, Lord, I hate that. Yeah, I know the
I
feeling.
did too. I did too. I came from a town with 500,000 and then moved to a small town, so it was a big adjustment to me
Mhm.
and everything. I'd rather live in a big, big town. So, but James, do you have anything else for us that we can listen to?
Hmm. Well, I wanted to add earlier about the visiting of the cemetery and the times you're
Mhm.
saying I'm not much of a morning person. It's usually afternoons for me. And I would love to go to the cemetery sometime after dark, but it's usually locked after 5. So I'll technically be trespassing if I go in there after 5.
Mhm.
So I have to be careful.
Yeah.
Um, and I would also like to add again to you, Willow. Again, try music. Music definitely gets a reaction out of the spirits,
Yeah,
I've noticed.
I do play quite. I have been known to play music. Obviously, when I'm live and that, no, because I'll get copyrighted. But when
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
actually there physically on my own and just communicating on my own, I'll put like old-fashioned music on. I put up-to-date music on, and you get have my spirit box on next to it, and you've got them like going, "Oh, I love this song," and like you can, and then you've got other ones going, "Oh, I remember this." So you can tell they're the more up-to-date ones when they get a bit
Mhm.
rowdy, like, "Oh, do you remember this song?" It's just like, "Oh my god,"
Mhm.
but they're having a party on the other side, literally. It is
Or you can
amazing. They
sing
do.
to them too. I've been known to sing to them too, like a
Yeah,
chant
I
or
can.
something.
I do. Yeah,
So,
really weird songs. I don't sing like songs of the. I do like weird enchanted songs. Like I don't know what it is.
Mhm.
Just
yeah.
singing something that I feel in that moment, and just start singing it to them, and it's weird. They like it.
Oh,
Hmm.
But
I couldn't do that. I'm not much of a singer.
neither
Well, I'm
am I.
not
Well, I
either,
don't think I am. But people say I've got a nice voice, but
but I'm in a cemetery, so who's going to hear me
nobody's
except for
going to hear it.
Good point.
yeah.
Good point.
I
Apart
think they're
from that,
going to enjoy it no matter how tone deaf I may be. They're going to still enjoy it, I think. But yeah, music is
oh yeah,
it's a good thought. I kind of thought about it, but then I didn't
that's not too
because
bad. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that would be really nice. Hmm, might have to
I've
do that.
danced as well. I've definitely
Oh,
danced.
have
I've
ya?
done a
Mhm.
couple of little twirls around in the graveyard, like when I've got the music on. I dance with
Oh,
it. Yep.
that yeah,
Oh,
I haven't done
There
that.
was this guy once. He was like
mhm.
over the. There's a bush bit that, but it's got holes in it. Okay, in the
Mm-hmm.
graveyard, and there's at last dancing with the spirit, and he's obviously holding my hand, so I'm doing that thing that we were doing the waltz. This
Mhm.
guy standing
Oh.
there like looking for this bush, like what the hell is she doing? Like, he just waltzing around these gravestones and everything. But I didn't care. I really don't care what people think. It makes them
Yeah.
happy and it makes me happy, so I just get on with it.
Yeah, I think the older I get, the more I don't care what anybody thinks of me. So,
Yep.
I mean, I never did in the first place, but then again, my kids, they're like, "Mom, you're embarrassing us," or something. Don't be so hippie. Don't be like this. And but you know what? Now since I'm getting older, they're acting like I did when they were
Yeah.
teenagers, and they're like, okay, yeah, I can see why my mom was always so free spirit and everything. It's like, yeah,
I just
don't
don't
care
think
what
there's
they
anything wrong with it. I don't care that I waltz round dancing with the dead. I really don't care. Like, I just start dancing with them and just like going around the graves, and I'm like, woo, spinning and everything. And it's
yeah,
just like, and I've had people
Mhm.
walking in to go over to visit their loved ones because they're on newer graves, and they're standing there like,
Mhm.
yeah,
just
yeah.
like in awe, like never seen that before.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I just love cemeteries.
yeah,
Call me crazy or anything, but I just love them. Every time I move someplace, it's like, where's the nearest cemetery at? I
Yeah.
need to know where the cemetery. Like most people says, well, where's the library or where's the grocery store? Not me. It's like, where's the nearest cemetery? I want the nearest
they just have
cemetery.
Mhm.
such an ambience to them, such an ambience and calmness. They're beautiful, and I've gone there at night because I investigate. I will say they do feel a bit different at night when it's
Yeah.
dark. Like it's still not negative, but I have the tendency to get a little bit more shook up when I go there at night because obviously if they step out on me without letting me know, it makes me
Mhm.
jump every now and again. Sometimes I'll sit there and you can hear like the footsteps of them walking, like coming
Mhm.
towards me, and I'm like, I can't see them properly. I don't know why they're not showing me. And then like they just suddenly just pop straight in front of me, and it's like, oh my god, like why would you do that? You know what I'm like? But I think sometimes they find that amusing because they know I can see, so that they play games sometimes. They know me so well up there. I've been going there for like 10, 11 years now,
Mhm.
and they know that they can get me every time that way because I'll be like looking, sensing, looking at one, and there's somebody else coming behind me. It just scares the hell out of me, and it's just like, why would you do that? Willow, don't like you to step in a place. Like, let me know that you're here, at least. But
Now, Willow, I know you're friends with some fairies. Um,
yeah,
does any of the fairies hang out in the cemeteries that you know of?
Primrose does.
Primrose. I knew you was
Yeah,
gonna.
I've got actually a video when I went to the investigation at the place that I really like going to, up here. And
Mhm.
Primrose is one of my fae folk that pixies. That's always been with me since I was 5 years old. And we were on an investigation, and me being me, I asked if there was an energy that wanted to communicate with me that was to do with nature or to do with the tree that I was stood in front of. and little Primrose decided to fly up to the phone to come and greet me, but my phone light scared the hell out of her, and she flew the opposite way.
Oh,
But I actually caught her coming up and going behind the gravestone. So yeah, they're definitely there. As I said, there's definitely a water elemental there as well.
oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I've seen the video. I probably over and over because it's
And I
amazing.
think that like the fae and the spirits are a lot closer than you think. So
Yeah.
I do believe that when you go over, you see things a lot more easier. You can connect with
Mhm.
things a lot more easier as well. So I very much believe that they do that, and that's why they're there, because they make friends with the humans. That's, some of the fae that communicate with us want to talk to human, want to communicate with human. Why would they not want to communicate with the human in the spirit world? You know what I mean? So
Well, it makes sense. Yeah,
yeah.
makes sense. And James, I
Mhm.
know you mentioned something about having picnics in cemeteries.
Yes, yes. I do have a little group here in town. I meet with once a month. We have a cemetery picnic once a month at our local cemetery. It's super fun. It's not really much of a picnic like you would imagine, but more like us just hanging out and chatting. But
Mm.
speaking of picnics, whenever someone thinks I'm weird about wanting to hang out at the cemetery, I tell them this little interesting tidbit of history is that in the 19th century, it was common practice for families to go out and have a picnic at the cemetery on Sundays. And again, with it being a beautiful garden, it kind of lends itself to that sort of an activity. So that's what I tell them. I was like, if you think I'm being weird, our ancestors used to have picnics in cemeteries once a week, every week.
I love that. I really do because now are you giving offering after you eat or drink or anything
Uh,
to?
well, my friend, the one that hosts the whole cemetery picnic, and she's also Wicca, so she does do offerings and burn sage, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
So she does all that stuff, and we just come and just hang out and just chit chat.
We never really have a picnic. My husband and I used to get some fast food and go out to the cemetery and just park
Hmm.
there and eat. But having a picnic would actually be awesome. I really have to try that this spring or summer because I think the kids, because I live with four grandkids, I think the kids will really enjoy it. So I don't think it would freak them out because they're used to going out and clean up cemeteries. So, but I think it'd be nice. It'd be nice for them just to have something different to do and learn something too as well. So, one thing that I used to do is used to research different people. Like I would
Mm.
see a tombstone or something, and it was like, oh man, this is really nice tombstone and everything, or headstone. And I was like, okay, I'll write the name down, the day they died, the day they was born, and I'll research to see what I can find out about them. And then I would go back and talk to them if they're, like, hey, what's going on? How was this, back in 1880 or so? I know that's probably kind of goofy though, but I think it's really getting to be like a one-on-one conversation with them. And I think they
Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they appreciate it because, I see obviously butterflies all of a sudden or a crow or something like a message like, "Oh, yeah, you're doing good." But yeah, I like to do that. Don't be afraid to research
And
cemeteries.
I've seen that, like, a couple of like physical cats in the graveyard, like black
Mhm.
cats in the graveyard. It's just like,
Oh,
and they'll
yeah.
just sit there. They sit there with their green eyes, just looking at me, and it's like,
I know.
hey,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, or sitting on
like.
top of 'em. Yeah.
And I have actually had food in the graveyard. I've actually took sandwiches and snacky bits and stuff up there, and water
Mhm.
and juice, and I've got extra plates and extra cups for them. They go, come on, guys, come and join me, and have something to eat. I've got cake and I've got sandwiches here. Got some crisps. I don't know if you know what Pringles are, but they're really nice. Try them. Like I just,
You're
like
taking all the peas and
yeah.
yeah,
It's okay. Now, no one's really sure what Pringles are.
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if you know what they are, but they taste really good. So just
Yeah.
want to try them.
It's potato product, I think.
Yeah.
potato product.
And you do hear them sometimes going, really nice. Oh, I like that one. And it's you can hear them having little conversations about the food and that. So it's really cute. It is.
Well, our cemetery that we have here in town is probably 5 blocks away. It's pretty close, really. So yeah, so some morning when it's nice and sunny and or misty, I need to take some coffee and takes biscuits or something and say, hey,
Oh,
let's
they'd
eat.
love that. They'd love that. I
Yeah,
always do like a little cup. I'll do a little cup that's got like juice in it, and then I've got a little cup that's got water. Then I'll make a little cup that's got maybe a tea and a coffee. I just
yeah,
put them all in the bag because I know that some of them are not going to drink juice and that like the
right.
more older generation of spirit there would been more the tea and coffee with like your little biscuits and your toot. So I always
Yeah.
make sure I've got a bit of everything to suit all of the
Mm-hmm.
energy. And no, you can't go wrong with sandwiches because anything was used to sandwiches. Do you know what I mean? I'd just do a
I
ham
bet.
sandwich,
Yeah.
cheese, and egg. They're the
Mhm.
things that they would have known. So, and I like it. So it's just like
Well, cool.
strange.
Well, we're about at the end of our podcast. Any last advice, words, or anything that you both want to say before we end?
Listen to the crows and follow the crows. Sometimes you'll meet some fun
Excellent.
people, fun spirits at the
Yeah.
cemetery. I now have a cemetery friend because of the crows.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, look out for the crows, butterflies as well. Butterflies are another one for
Oh,
messengers and stuff like that. Just if you're going to go there, just always remember to be respectful, guys. Remember that is their
mhm.
resting place, and always make
Mm.
sure that you're respectful to them. And
Oh,
there is no harm in cleaning the grave up if you see
Right.
it dirty, and there is no harm in leaving something and making
mhm.
them feel they're appreciated. I think it goes a long way. Always show the love. It doesn't matter if you're living or you're past. Always show the love to them. So
Yeah.
Right.
I always made
be
oh,
polite.
yeah. I always made sure when I'm walking around the cemetery to try to be careful and not like step on people's graves and like
Yeah.
walk
Yeah.
around and give
I
them a
always
little bit of
walk to the
fur.
back on the bit where there's no right, and I always walk right to the back, so I'm not even walking on
Yep.
the gravestones, or I'll walk
Mm,
round it. So I'm really
Yeah.
weird about that. I wouldn't want someone walking on me. So
yeah.
My
just
grandma
be
always
respectful.
says, if you go to the cemetery, don't walk on the grave. Go
Yeah.
to the back of the grave and just kind of peep around and see what's going on.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, you guys, it was fun. I
Yes.
love cemeteries. Thank you, James, for saying, "Hey, let's do something on cemeteries." I loved it. I hope everybody in the audience learned something. Don't be afraid to go to cemeteries, day or night. You know, just be respectful of the dead and also offerings, and you know, just have fun with them. Clean up and everything. But until next time,
Mhm.
we see everybody soon. So stay tuned for Within the Cauldron for the next episode
Have
on
a night.
tomorrow at 4 p.m. And peace out, everybody. Have
Thank you
a
for having me
great,
on.
Bless be.
Yes.
blessed be.